Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast presented by NBA 2K22. I'm your host, Mo Mutsi. Alongside me, as always, is the three-time NBA champion, BJ Armstrong. And we've got a very special guest for today's episode. On a personal note, I'm excited to see this man back in the league because my friends will be able to tell you on 2K, I block every shot imaginable when I play with this player. But more importantly, he's back in the NBA. His team is rolling right now, looking like they're going to be back in the NBA Finals. But more importantly, I'm just happy to see this guy on a personal level back in the league, doing what he does best. Mr. Bismack Biyombo, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, man. This is great.
Well, Biz, it's certainly a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see that smile. You're joining us here. And how you doing? It's always good to see you. You know,
I'm good. I'm great, man. Today I woke up with an amazing energy. Can't even lie. So I feel blessed to be alive and get to see another day. So I'm amazing, man.
Man, you know, you guys just had that big win over the Sacramento Kings in overtime. You really came together, missing a few of your key guys down the stretch. The momentum is there. The momentum's building. There was a lovely stretch between New Year's and All-Star where the team was undefeated every time you stepped on the court. But before that, you took a little bit of time away from basketball. And I was just wondering if you could share with the listeners over here why and the circumstances that took place that you took a little bit of time out to take care of your personal issues that were going on.
So the reality of it is, I think there's one day I just woke up and I just had a feeling I had to go home. And I called BJ when I was actually at the airport. I think I was in New York heading home. And I was like, I just need to go home, take care of my dad. I just don't have a good feeling about this. I gotta get home. So I went home, I got home, when everybody are telling you things are good, but they're really not good, because my dad has always tried to, protect me from whatever's going on back home and just allow me to focus on my brothers and what I'm doing and the businesses and all that. So he never been in the hospital before. And this is the first time it was 62, and this 61, and this is the first time they call me and they say he's checking into the hospital. My whole life, and I never heard that coming from him. It's one of the strongest men I know. So that's the least I expected from him. At least I die early, So I get home, but when I first got home, you could tell the reaction of people went from being sad to joyful. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we got hope Bismack is here. You know what I mean? But I just didn't know how bad the situation was. And then once I got to see him, the conditions it was in, so we start finding solutions and how we could bring in doctors. I think one of the first person I also called was Mutombo. I was like, man, do you have anybody at your hospital that I can fly in here because my dad is not in good condition? And he recommended me to somebody else. So we started bringing in doctors and machinery locally to try to help him out. And then, the situation kind of got complicated. So we feel like it was best to evacuate him and send him to Turkey. So we evacuated him to Turkey, and things weren't going, was going as we expected, and then wasn't going our way. And obviously God has his way of doing things. I think one day I was like, man, I'm too overwhelmed, with this. I just need one day in my bed, and I just need one day to get to sleep in my bed. And then I'll come right back here, and then I'm gonna keep taking care of my man. So, and by then, emotionally, while you're dealing with the problem, everybody around you, there's emotions, there's, a lot going on, but I could not be emotional. So I took my emotions out of it, And while my dad was alive, every time we have to deal with something. We have a tough job to do. There's a task that's difficult. During that task, it was always fasting. So during that time, I was always fasting. I was always fasting because I had to stay focused. And his whole thing was, if we can't deal with the inside, then the outside it's easier. So during that time, I was fasting a lot, but emotionally, I was not there. And when I told my mom, I said, I'm gonna get on the plane, I'm gonna land in Miami, sleep in my bed for one night, and then I turn back around and I'll be here, and then we're gonna finish the job. So I got on the plane, and all my brothers and my sister were pushing, like we're really big believers. And my little sister were having dreams, or my dad is actually telling her that I need to go soon. And I was supposed to go on a Wednesday, and my little sister had a dream, and then my dad said it would be too late if I go. No, if I go on a Thursday, it would be too late. So we're going back and forth. We're big believer in like the messages, because of the way my family is. So long story short, we all push. So I end up leaving on a Tuesday. I landed on a Wednesday. The night of Wednesday to Thursday, I think it was, I remember it was raining and a lot of crazy thunder. And I'm like, this is unusual, Yes, it's Miami, it's Florida, but it's unusual, And I went to bed. I just lay in bed. I'm like, man, this feels so good. But then at 2 a.m., I heard a knock on the door. Like, I keep banging on the door, and nobody was saying anything. They just kept banging on the door, and I'm like, I turn on the alarm. I make sure everybody went to bed. What's going on? Who hacked the alarm? So I was like, should I go for my phone and just go check the door? And I remember I flipped my phone. It was a lot of phone calls from the doctors, because we put a team of doctors in the US. We had a team of doctors in Turkey, and then we also have a team of doctors in Europe that was kind of collaborating and then giving each other advice on how they should proceed about the situation and how they think it was better. And when I opened the door, when I checked, I see the phone calls was doctors and messages. So I'm like, okay, should I answer, open the messages, or just go open the door first? But by then, I just had a feeling that this is it, So I opened the door. Was Billy, my young brother, and he was just pouring and crying. I said, shit, I think it happened. I had no word for it, I never lost somebody close to me. So it's almost like, in that moment, everything stopped. Like you're going to a different space that you can't explain. It's just like everything is just moving different, I start observing, and I had everybody at home. My brothers were at home. We were just missing my little, my little brother that played soccer was still at school, and one of my little sisters, the last one, she was still at school. So now I'm looking at the ones I have at home, and she's at school, and I gotta get her back home. I gotta get her on the fly. And how is that process gonna be without her finding out that, Dad actually passed away? How am I gonna get her home safe? That was my concern, because she was like the protector, My dad always loved her, protected her. So now that was my concern. But at that moment, it's like everything just stopped for a second. So now gotta get the other two. Then finally got her home, but when she was already on the way, somebody somehow sent a message to her, send her their condolences. So now she's freaking out and she's asking questions. And everybody's job is we gotta stay calm until she get home. And her safety means everything to everybody, you know. So once you got her home, then now you start seeing how everybody was dealing with their own emotions. And the thing about it and the reality is that my dad, even during times like this, he always had to make sure that everything is run properly. And thankful enough, he have taught me a lot about these moments. So now I had to figure out how I can, one, make sure everybody was safe, and then two, make sure that everybody could get home safe, you know. So once everybody got home to Miami safe, I had to take them back to Congo. And then we also had to take his body back to Congo for the funeral. I had to take my mom back to Congo for the funeral as well, and my little sister that was with my mom back to Congo. So while we're going into that process, you know, I'm still in it, like focused. Like my job was, I gotta take my dad out and I gotta make sure I bring him alive. And now we figure out what's going on from there. Where that didn't happen, okay, now I gotta make sure that, you know, it's buried the right way, you know. So once we got home, now I have to go get his body, get it home. Once everybody got home, we got his body home. Now we have to do the funeral. And long story short, the funeral was done. I think once we bury him, it's like you feel the load, something just unload, you know. And now I was like, you know, I have to go home, you know. I left my family with security and all that, although they didn't need it, but I just feel like it become now my responsibility to make sure that brothers, my mom, my brothers and sister were actually safe and okay, which is, you know, I had a responsibility of taking care of them, you know, while they were here going to school. But another thing is now making sure that they're actually safe, you know, and they're happy and whatever they're dealing with. So now I become the father, you know. So I got on a plane, got back to Miami. That's when I think the day of the funeral, that's when I realized like my emotion was too overwhelmed. It's almost like it crossed the line. I should have long time ago start figuring out how to pick my spot, you know, just like in a game, like find your shot and be emotional in those space. But I took myself out of it. And once the day of the funeral come, that's where everything start kicking in. And then once the funeral was done, I was like, I really have to get out of here. I think this is my limit. So I left, came back to Miami. You know, still going through the process of adjusting and actually accepting this, you know, because it's something that I didn't want to accept. But one thing that my dad have told me is that we never run away from God. Like we gotta run towards him, even in the worst of, you know, the worst moments of our lives, we always have to run away. So honestly, I keep fasting and making sure that, you know, I was getting closer to God and adjusting to this new way of living. So then basketball is also in the picture, and I was working out, you know, but the reality of it is I wasn't ready. And I'm thankful to God because, you know, sometimes as human, we think certain ways, right? And the environments that we're in, people want us to play. But the reality of it is nobody ever stops and figure out whether or not I was ready to play, include myself. In all environments, we all talk about, I have to play basketball, right? But nobody have stopped and say, man, are you actually ready to play basketball? You know? And I think one day while all this was going on, you're gonna play again, what's going on? I woke up one day, I was going for a drive because I was at the house by myself. I didn't want to be, you know, around anybody. I think I came back the day before my birthday, I didn't want to celebrate my birthday. I just wanted to be by myself. But my brothers, they couldn't let me do that. So they managed to fly in the night of my birthday. Because we have this routine where we, for the boys, we have to someone get them with the cake and stuff. So they didn't want to allow me to be by myself on my birthday. So they all make the effort to get back the night. Actually, I was like, okay, tonight is, my birthday. Usually we do something, but I really don't want to do much. And they're all asking questions. And I'm like, I'm not doing much. I don't want to do anything. And they all finally surprised me that they were getting home. And it was kind of cool also. But back to the game, it's just that, I don't think I was ready. And God really protected me, including for myself. Because if I would have, at the time, integrated team, it'd probably be a disaster because instead of going to the team to add, I think at the time I would have been taken away from the team because emotionally I was just not ready to be in the environment where instead of helping guys, now you're taken away from it and you become like a burden where somebody now got to start helping you going through your process. I didn't want to be in that situation. And
this was the end of August, right? Your birthday. So this was just before training camp, just before the season.
Yeah, end of August. And then once we start diving into September, it was like more and more pressure from people. And I remember my dad always said there is nothing that God never, answer. If he desires for you to be in a place and you feel it in your heart, then get on your knees, fast and pray. So I fasted for 9 days and I prayed during those 9 days. And when I come out of it, I feel strong and I feel good. And I remember picking up the phone and tell BJ, I said, hey man, the only way I'm going to play basketball is if we find a winning team that's actually going to win a championship. And my salary this year will be going towards the construction of an hospital. BJ can tell you this. Probably when I tell him that, he's sitting on the other side of the phone and saying, this guy is crazy because I don't think we can find this option. But I did believe it so much that when I hang up the phone, I felt so good. I've recorded so many videos during that time. I was just recording video, things that come to my mind. And one of the video I recorded, I think it was after family dinner, was exactly saying this. I'm going to play for a winning team. Now, people want to understand it, how it happened, but it's just going to happen. Because in my heart, I feel that this is what I want and this is what I'm going for. It didn't take too long. And then BJ called me back and, Phoenix are checking in and I think we'll have a shot at Phoenix, right? So then, I don't want to bring in the name of other teams, but then other teams start calling. BJ is like, I still got to tell you about these other teams, but I really know what you want to do, So right. I'm going to get by with the other team, but this is what we're going to do. Say, you know what? Let's go get it done. And obviously people are concerned like, oh man, Bismack is going for a 10-day. I was never going for 10 days. That was not my commitment to come here to Phoenix. I came to Phoenix to sign for the rest of the season. But 10 days was perhaps a practice. And people perhaps were hoping that I was not going to deliver. There's no big moment in Bismack Biyombo career that Bismack don't deliver. Not one time. Rather it was living Yemen, rather it was Spain, rather it was Hoop Summit, rather it was when I was in Toronto, the big stage. There's no big stage that Bismack never delivered. I show up when the lights are on and I was way too confident. And I'm way too confident this year that, I was like, man, and before all that happened, God is so amazing because He made sure that in my new role of playing with my family, all this me getting back to play happened after all the big moments that was coming in my family. One, which was my brother graduating, getting his master in finance. First time we have somebody graduate in the family without my dad. And this is a few months after it passed. And I'm playing the new role as a dad. And thank God that I had enough time to be there and take care of everything. And then comes New Year's and Christmas. First time the family is going through New Year and Christmas. If I would have signed with a team, I would never, those two things would never happen. And the position that I play now in my family, which now making sure that everybody are good, and just by them seeing me around, at least put a smile on their face, especially in this big moment. So, I'm thankful that I got to spend those time with them and just being able to give them a different perspective in life and talk to them. And again, when it was time to roll, we got rolling. No looking back.
Biz, in complete transparency to our listeners here, to our extended family, Biz and I, in our other life, our working relationship, we are agent. Biz is, I worked for Bismack, Bismack as an agent client, but besides that, this is family, business family. And I've had opportunity to see this entire process. But one of the things I had a chance to meet your family, know your family and see this. But before we move on, I want to know, how did you manage to keep all of this organized? Because, you are the oldest in the family, and you had everyone organized throughout this process as you was going through this, because it was, here you talk about it, you still have it organized in your mind, but it was complicated because your dad was here to Turkey. You had your siblings in school in Miami. Oh, by the way, we were going through free agency. By the way, Biz had all of these things. So how has that transition been for you as the oldest and helping everyone else? Because you did, look, this is never easy, but you were so incredible at keeping everyone organized as the older brother with your mom. And so how did you do that transition? How did you keep that all together?
I had less hours of sleep, that's for sure,
Right.
Especially when I was back home, time changing, I think at some point I was probably sleeping like 2 or 3 hours a day, because we have to stay on this Zoom and phone calls with doctors, and then you got to check in and make sure that the brothers are good, and the sisters, and what they're going through school-wise, give them emotional support.
How many of your siblings are in school currently now, Biz? Because
now we got 4 of them. So 2 have graduated. Now it's only 4, yeah. So they all came here. They were still, kids, and now they're evolving into bigs. But I slept the fewest hours, and I think that's one of the things I got to recognize also. And one of the things that helped me, because at some point, I was just like, man, how am I gonna keep pushing? And I know there's a limit. I know there's a time where I'll hit that point where I'm like, this is the time to have some gasoline in the car. The car is going red, and right. I think that time really didn't hit me until he actually passed away. But my dad taught me a lot on the way maneuver around this thing. So as a firstborn, I was always with him. When he do a lot of planning, I was always with him. The big moments, the passing of some family member back home, I was always with him. And along the way, he he was making sure that I see what they was doing, because we've had times where everybody in a panic mode, but this guy would show up totally calm, never up, never down. He had his own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to create that pace for myself and go in my own bubble, which because if I allow the environment, to kind of, it's almost like to go on autopilot. I know how to do all these things. Now I'm going to meditate pretty much throughout the day as I'm doing these things, but I'm on autopilot, But one time I think I went to the hospital. People always ask me, "Oh, Bismarck, what are you afraid of?" This is before my dad got sick and all that. I say nothing. Are you afraid of death? No, nothing. Are you afraid of this? Me? No, nothing. And I think there's a day that I saw my mom walking out of my dad's room, and she was crying. I look at one of my friends, Xavier, I say, "Hey man, I think I'm scared. I've never been scared before. I think I'm scared, I'm afraid, and this is the first time it happened, But this is where I got to realize also, like, there is life. It's not just about basketball, It's not just about getting out there shooting hopes. You have to also understand that, athletes are human beings. And that's where I got really to figure out, like people talk about like the importance of mental health and all this. I see guys deal with it, and sometimes I was asking myself, man, we get paid so much money. Like, why do we really have to worry about, And there's times where, I'm like, damn, we're really, really athletes, and we have to accept this side of being emotional, But to me, it happened when my dad passed, where I actually had to sit back and say, damn, like, there is really life happening. And life is not just about getting out there and shooting basketball and making money, So that's kind of the reality. I think I managed to just taking myself out of the equation, perhaps, and then, handle what I needed to handle. And then saying there'll come a time where I'm gonna need to check myself in, and then that time, kind of happened when I could actually see that, man, this man is really gone. Even when I started playing, he used to stay up at 3, 4 a.m. and send me text messages before games. Every game, he sacrificed himself. And sometimes I ask him, I say, hey man, we're in Congo. How the hell are you keeping up with this, And he was always so motivated to send these messages before games. Good games, bad games. Sometimes they call you after games. And when I went back to play, it's like, even that first day going back to play, to me, it was still like, oh shit, there's no more text messages coming. You have the habit of picking up the phone and check the phone, and you check that. There's no more of that coming in.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more late night conversation when you land in. So because it was everything. We got to develop a father and son relationship. We got to develop a friendship. It became like a mentor. Like just like a lifetime coach. And I think a few days ago, somebody that I took home to, when I do this basketball camp, to record videos, right? And one of the things they asked him, because they did an interview with him, one of the things they asked him, they said, man, how did you feel when your first son was leaving? He said, I felt the same way as I was losing my dad. So I said there, I said, man, like, this guy was just too committed. My life was his life was about me. we got to make sure that Biz and his brothers and sisters are good. So that's why I was like, man, you know, when I feel that need, that motivation to play again, and I ask myself a lot of questions before I make that phone call to BJ, I dig deep down, man. I really had to dig deep down because the sacrifice, he spent his own money for me to chase my dreams, believe so much in my dreams that he was willing to spend his own money, you know. He sacrificed his own peace because nobody agreed with me leaving. And at the time, you know, even my mom was not okay with it because I was the oldest in the family, you know, and I was so young too. So, but for him, it was like, look, we have a vision, but what we're doing today, people will not understand. But some days they will understand the why we were doing it. And long enough, when I made it to the NBA, then, you know, the perspective changed. And I think it would have been too sad for me to give up on basketball, and I would have let him down if I wasn't committed to play basketball again. And I think for me, this year was, you know, this man have done so much for me, for others, and I'm going to be committed to this game, whether it's my workouts and playing games and the desire to win something, because I want to make this year about him. And quite frankly, God will win a championship. You know, I want to be able to take this championship back to his grave. And because my dad and I, every time he visits me, he doesn't drink, but we always open one bottle of wine. So I hope I get to do that this summer when we win the championship.
I hope you could achieve that as well. The resilience that you've shown to be able to get back on the basketball court after going through everything that you've gone through is commendable. It's the ultimate show of strength. And I think it's so amazing how you're dedicating your retired salary from this season to building a hospital back home in Congo. But you've been doing a lot of work over the years of giving back in your home country. You've got the schools, the basketball academies, the football, or BJ would call it a soccer academy, but we call it football. So we call it football on this podcast. The football academies, the basketball academies, and other hospitals. Just can you tell us about the foundation and, you know, what inspired you to start that in the first place, your father's involvement with that, getting it up and running years ago, and what you hope to continue as your legacy?
Yeah. I mean, the foundation, you know, we started just like a basketball camp. I think we had like 25 kids. That was kind of the beginning of the foundation. We just had desire, you know, I was struggling sleeping, and I'm trying to figure out, I want to go home and I do something. And one day I woke up, I told our equipment manager at the time, I was like, hey man, do you have any gear that I could take home to the kids, or give me some gears? And then I went and bought some shoes, and then got on a plane. I called my brothers and said, hey man, just find me 25 kids that kind of know how to play basketball. I want to teach them fundamentals. I'll be the coach, I'll be the DJ, I'll pack my speaker, get home, have a camp, first day, amazing. And I was struggling sleeping for like 2 weeks. Then I went to sleep like a kid, man. Lay in bed, going. Woke up in the morning, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then the next day kind of happened. So talked to my parents. And then my dad and my mom at the time were like, maybe this is something you should look into it. But my dad, for him, it was like, we have to do it because we'll be able to help a lot of people. And we're in a position to do so, you know. So I came back, I called BJ, and then BJ reached out to Jordan Brand. They're like, yeah, we'll support, you know, we could give you a gear for 100 kids. I was like, oh, perfect. We went from 25 to 100 kids. And then that was only Lubumbashi. Then we did 2 cities, Kinshasa and Lubumbashi. And then we went to Goma. Then it became an habit where we do these 3 cities and find the best kids, give them scholarships, to come to the US, go to school. And then from there, start going back and forth. We can't keep taking these kids out of here. We somehow gotta let them live their dreams, go in good schools, and just be close to the loved ones while they're accomplishing the dreams. Because like my situation was like, all right, you're gonna take this road and you're gonna be by yourself and you're gonna figure life out. And I think it's not an experience that you want to see kids go through, but I think my situation that had to happen so that we could do what we're doing today, and I'm grateful for the journey. So then we started jumping into building schools and outdoor basketball court because we thought it was a good idea to give these kids somewhere to just be kids and have fun, and and once we built our first school, then was working on a second school. My dad was running my dad was running my foundation back home. And while I was watching his interview a few days ago, just to see like the things that he had say, his whole thing was like, if I don't help my kids with the job that needs to be done, who else gonna do it for him? So I think at some point it was just like, I don't want to work. I just want to help you with your foundation, whatever you need to be done here. And at this point in my life, I've made a living. The guys are great. Just want to help them. So it was overviewing the whole foundation. And then at some point, we started doing like medical equipment donations into hospitals and clinics and refurbishing some clinics, different department of hospitals. And what really hit me, that's why I wanted to build an hospital, was when my dad was in a situation where I was like, man, I thought we were really like doing enough. And clearly this was not enough because I can't save my own dad in this environment, And there's like one doctor per, I think it's a 0.28 for every 10,000. So there's pretty much like survival mode every day from people, because there's no way you could have one doctor for every 10,000 people. Like it's mission impossible. So from there, I think, when I did committed my salary this year, I thought it was a great idea because my dad has serviced a lot of people, and I've always said the goal is not to live forever, but to live something that will hopefully live forever. And I think the hospital is a way that I think I could, one, honor him and give him something that will continue to service people and save lives, because he believed in the dream of his son, and people get to perhaps live in a better condition because he had a dream and desire, to carry life differently than other people. Because what my dad did for me in my life, my career, me chasing my dreams, it's unusual in Africa. In Africa, it's school. You have to finish school before you leave. And at least at a time, I don't know how things are now, but that's kind of what we dive into. We have academies that we put in place just to make sure that these kids were, at least they had a home. I think to me, the goal was, the amount of time that I'm playing and, the time that I have here on earth, I have to be able to make an impact on society, an impact on my generation, and give enough tools to the next generations, because they have to do at some point better than we're doing, but we can't just tell them you got to do better than we're doing if we don't become the example for that generation. If we don't give them enough tools, we really have to give them some guidance, and I think through the foundation, the work we do, which we're going to continue to do, is just to also find ways to make sure that the next generation see how it could be done and how they could perhaps improve in certain areas. Because I think some days I'll have to stop. But by the time I stop, I want to make sure that the impact that we have made was just enough. And hey, listen, when my turn is up to leave this world, I want to be able to look back from the other side and say, you know what? We did a pretty damn good job. You know, I think that's that's what my dad feels right now.
You know, Biz, you know, and listening, living this here with you, there's two things that I've been waiting for the right time. And I didn't know when was the right time to say this, but out of all the people I've met over my years, you are one of the most focused. When you set your mind to do something, like people say a lot of things, but you are one of the most focused people I've ever met in my life. And I've always admired that about you. But listening to you say this again, two things really stand out. And it was interesting to hear you say it again. Is one, I remember vividly, and we were talking daily and all the things, and you were traveling. And I remember you said, just out of nowhere, you said, you know, I'm not going to get those text messages anymore from my dad. I remember when you said that. That was one of the things, and to hear you say that again. And then the second thing is we have a nickname that we call each other, Big Money. You know, that's kind of like, it's not just me and Biz, it's like the family, right? Everyone calls me Big Money. I call them Big Money. They call me Big Time. It's kind of an inside joke that we all here have with one another. And I remember when you made the decision of the type of life you wanted to have and the relationship you wanted to have with the team and with the team that you were going to go move forward. Because at the time you were a free agent and you had made this decision that I need to take care of yourself. And now that you made that decision, I remember that because it was like, I remember you just kind of said these things, you know, you were saying things, but those two things I vividly remember. And to hear you say it again, and I didn't know how important it was to you, but it stood out to me. Now that you've made this decision with Phoenix, and now that you're here, talk about that relationship that you wanted to have with an organization here and how important, because it appears to be on the outside. And now I get a chance to live it, you know, I get a chance to see you and talk, but share with us how important this relationship has been and your decision with the Phoenix Suns.
I think the decision with the Phoenix Suns was one easier to me because from one side, you know, the coach, you know, the coach back then when he lost his wife, I was like, man, I really have to be in an environment with somebody know what this means from a coaching perspective, you know, because if you go to a coach that I've been around coaches that don't give a damn about players and they'll tell them even to the face, at least you're a star on the team. I've been around that in this league. And it's sad to say, but to me, I've been watching and know Monty, I think we met for the first time in South Africa, Basketball Without Borders. You know, it was like, yeah, take my number, anything you ever need, you could reach out, you know. That's kind of where I got to meet him. I said, man, wouldn't it be cool to play for this coach someday, right? And he said, I read in, somebody told me, a reporter, he said the same thing about me, like, this is the kind of player I want to coach some days.
Right.
Funny enough, how life worked too. But I think coming to an organization where a coach know what it feels like to be in this situation, and to have a GM that has played in the league, I've competed against, I think to me it was no-brainer. Because, you know, from one side, you get a real human being from a coach that's going to be transparent, honest with you. It's not going to tell you the BS of the league, but it's going to be straightforward. And a player who also has been in the player's shoes, which is going to be straightforward with you. And I think for me as a player, when I'm in an environment where I can feel that hey man, this guy care about me, not just as somebody that they paid to do a job, but as a person. Oh, you better believe I'm gonna give you 150% when I'm on the floor. You better believe that. You really better believe that. And obviously on the other side, there's CP3, who I've known from working with the union. He was a president. I was a vice president.
Congratulations, by the way. Congratulations. Congratulations. Little politics here. Little politics. Sorry, Biz got reelected. So, we got to say congratulations,
Congratulations. That's big time. That's big time.
Yeah. Hey, that's what we call him. Big time. He's big time,
Yeah, no, I'm appreciative of that, man. It shows how much respect perhaps I get among my, my fellow, my ex-teammate, people that I compete with, all of them, it's a lot of appreciation. But yeah, so coming to Phoenix to me was just an easy decision. Where it's like, man, they have done something special. And I think I remember, I watched the game. Mm-hmm. I didn't practice with Phoenix at all, 0 practice. And when I was supposed to go and join a team, and I watched half of the game, probably like third quarter, fourth quarter. And then I texted BJ, I said, oh, I see. Are you watching the game? I see. Yeah. I see something here.
You called me at halftime. I remember that.
Yeah. I was like, I see something. And then I watched, like, during the whole time I was away, I watched 2 games. And the 2 games were the few possible teams. And I called BJ, I said, what do you think? But with Phoenix, I watched half a game and I was like, I see. Now let's go to work, And I walk in the locker room, it's like one of those where it seems like you've been around already. And then Mikal Bridges was already saying, no, busy. And I don't know where they got that from, And then he said, one day he was at home. He said, no, busy, no Bismack. Interesting. Huh? No busy, no Bismack. They kind of go hand in hand. So I walk in the locker room, everybody, no busy, no busy. I said, guys, what's going on? I just walked in here and you guys had a nickname figure. I said, no, seems like we knew you were going to be here. Right. It seems like we knew somehow the universe know that, So I got to the team in Charlotte.
Yep.
I did my workout just to start off the travel and the
Tell them what time you had to get on the plane, Biz. Tell them what time you had to get on the plane for that.
At 6 a.m. And this was New Year's Eve, man.
Oh man.
So, yeah.
So it was unbelievable. You gotta give this. He's the most focused person I know.
I ain't gonna lie, New Year's Eve, I ain't getting on no plane at 6 a.m. I'm gonna tell you that.
No, I'll tell you. And I was with my brothers, I was just hanging out with them. My brother Billy said, man, you need to go to sleep, man. You gotta catch the plane. I know it's New Year's Eve, we're hanging out, you gotta go. I said, man, just don't worry about that. You worry about enjoying the night, have fun, it's family time. I'll take care of the rest, He said, man, but you're not going to practice and all that. I said, Billy, just trust me, man. I've done enough work. Now I gotta get to working. And long enough, I walk in there first game, everybody like, oh damn. Yeah, we like it, Biz.
It worked out. This man traveled with. Listen, he was you met the team on the road. We didn't even know how you were going to get clothes. We didn't know how he was going to get shoes. No. All we knew is he had a game. He had 2 bags, and he had a game. And what he's going through behind the scenes is nothing short of incredible. And it's a testament to you. But it's been unbelievable to watch.
Most definitely. And he made an instant impact with the Phoenix Suns. He had some big performances as soon as he got to the team. He's playing like he's been there all season long. So, Bismack, we don't want to take up too much of your time. We appreciate you joining us.
Don't worry. I got tested after that quick, too.
Yeah.
That's another story. That's another story, Biz.
That's a whole nother story.
I got 17 and 12.
What the hell? Man, listen. Even my own teammates said, "There's no way. There's no way you were down in Miami and come here and play like this." Yeah.
Okay, it was so funny. Remember all the questions we had? Like every team in the league. We went from like what team to every team in the league. Oh, I need a big who can rim protect and all that. So you know what? It's been great, man. Hey, love you.
It's been great.
Hey, congratulations for the rest of the year. I know you guys are focused. And thanks for taking the time, Biz, today and sharing your story and all the wonderful work you're doing here, in the Phoenix community and whatever community you play in, but back home as well with your family.
Yeah,
and
it's a true inspiration.
We'll get back to with our question. This is my guy, big time. This is a big time right here.
No, man. I mean, to be honest, just to add something before we shut it down, when I came to Phoenix, I only had the expectation like, okay, I'm relying on the coach and the GM, right? But throughout this process of me donating and how they want to help me, like with more and how much they dedicate themselves to just make sure that we could get whatever we needed from, whether it was the funding, whether it was finding doctors and, they played in the arena to make sure the fans knew about it. They put it.
Yes.
I've been with teams and BJ can say this. I never see one team never do what they're doing.
That's right.
For obviously people of Congo that they don't even know they're never going to meet in their lives. So it speaks for what their organization is and what they're trying to accomplish. So it's exciting. And again, I think we got a shot at doing this and God will do it. So I can open this nice bottle of wine.
That's beautiful, man.
Absolutely.
We're wishing you the best of luck for the rest of the season. I got no doubt you're going to continue to achieve great things. Wishing you and your family all the best. Our prayers and condolences are with you. Wishing you strength and great health, great fortune. And, hopefully we can have you back on the show and you can show off your championship ring this summer. We're wishing you all the best for the rest of the season.
That would be
Keep doing what you do, my brother. Keep doing what you do. And hopefully you put up these big numbers and you continue to keep going, man. We appreciate you taking the time. Thank you to everyone at home who listened. If you can help support what Bismac's trying to do in Congo in any way, please do reach out if you have anyone, because we know we've got listeners all over the world. So if anyone listening to this can help, Bismac, can you give us where people can reach out to if they are able to help in any capacity?
So, on all my social media, Bismac Biyombo, there's a website that's there. It's a website of my foundation. It has all of the work we do, all the information and how you can donate. So we've put the website out there. And obviously people can always reach out to me through the social media channel. I'm open to it. But again, this year is a commitment. And I think, as everybody play a role, big or small in this, we'll be able to save a lot of lives, not just do something for my dad, but being able to save a lot of lives. I think that's the main goal here.
And if you guys do head over to the foundation website and donate, send me a screenshot and I will match your donations to Bismac's foundation.
Yes.
Bismac,
yes.
We will match those donations that our listeners send in. We appreciate you taking the time. Thank you once again. Thank you to all of our listeners. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And much like the man Bismac Biyombo over in Phoenix right now, make sure you get buckets.